Hey, everyone. I think we're live. I hope so, at least. Let me just post this in the chat. Hi, everyone. There we go. Good, good. Hello, hello. If you're here, please say hi so that I know that everyone can hear me and everyone's here. That would be great. Let's go, let's go. I see more people coming in. That's at least good. Can you all hear me? I hope so. Hey, Nick. Nick's also here. Hey, Nick, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Good. Yes. Awesome.
Great.
Okay, and I also see people typing in chat, so I guess that means everything's going well with the audio.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's get started then. Thank you everyone for joining. I know today's a busy day for a lot of you because it's Community Manager Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
That's usually
Woo.
it's woo woo. Happy CMAT, everyone. It's usually a big day for people in community management. Also, I know that there's a lot of stuff going on today with all of the community management award things by CMX and those kinds of things. So I know people are busy. So thank you for being here and taking the time. Yeah, so for those of you who are like, what is this? What is CMAD? That's on the screen, or what is Community Manager or Community Manager Appreciation Day? Difficult word, should be shorter, I guess, so that I can pronounce it better. It's the fourth Monday of every January, and it's been there for I don't know how many years now.
Hundreds of years, right?
Hundreds of years.
Yeah, I mean, since like the Middle Ages, I think people have been celebrating community minutes.
Agreed. There were already communities. There you go. I think it was coined by Jeremiah. Now I have to peek like Oyang or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm probably butchering that last name. And he thought of it to celebrate and improve the visibility of community managers across the globe. So major day for community management, obviously, and therefore also for us. And also for our business, and it's well deserved by all of the community managers. I think we will all agree, because I think there's this quote, right? I think it's like, oh, it's been a while since I used it. I think it's something like social media never sleeps and neither do community managers or something. I think that's the quote. And I think that quote is very true. Community managers are always on, always busy, always dealing with their customers or users in the community. So that's pretty cool. This is, by the way, also a topic that we're discussing because luckily for us, these days, community is no longer just something for community managers, but it's now also something in customer success and something in product and with a wider range of departments within your business. So super cool. And first, let me, to help me celebrate this festive day, we're joined here by Nick Mehta, who I think everyone knows. He's the CEO of Gainsight, for those that hadn't figured it out yet. And Gainsight is the biggest name in the CS space, customer success space, and are firm believers of community as well, as they have shown, I think, through their self-built Pulse community way back in the day.
Right.
And they have just bought Inside It last week.
I heard about that.
Crazy.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
I know. I haven't thought of anything else for months now. So pretty crazy. And I guess you could also say that Nick is my boss now. So instead of wearing a hoodie on webinars, I now wear shirts.
But now I'm wearing a hoodie on a webinar.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to become more like Remco. Remco's trying to become more like me. What's going on?
I know this is not very well coordinated. This is going wrong. But maybe, Nick, you want to do like a quick intro for those that don't know?
Sure, yeah. And by the way, I think the last time I did a webinar with you, I was in a Harry Potter outfit, I think, right? That would happen. Yeah, so I'm game for any webinar that Remco hosts. Hi, I'm Nick Mehta, CEO of Gainsight. You know, we've been doing Gainsight about 9 years now, so we'll talk more about it. But super passionate about community as a concept and what it's meant for our business, what it means for me personally, and what it means for the whole kind of business to business world.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, let me very briefly do housekeeping because then we're done with that. So yes, this will be recorded. It will be distributed. Don't fret, don't worry, definitely. Also, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to just leave any question in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll try and bring it in whenever I can. Emphasis on bringing it in as we're talking about community. So please also feel free to just go crazy in the chat and we'll make this a community conversation. And then finally, I don't know if you guys see the sticky note at the top in the chat. You basically get the opportunity to nominate your favorite community manager. Nick, also extends to you. And could be you, could be a colleague, could be anyone. And then there is a chance to win the community manager's ultimate self-care kit, which is a name that we thought of, but I've seen what's in it and it's pretty amazing. So definitely nominate someone or yourself to have a chance at that. It's pretty cool. I think that covers it. Nick, are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Cool. Let's do it. So as I've now learned in the past 7 days, every meeting at Gainsight starts with an icebreaker. So this webinar also starts with an icebreaker. And I thought we'd do something that is relevant to the conversation. Community, it means something different to everyone. So what's a community in your life that you are passionate about? And is there also someone within that community that you would like to extend a special shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been so passionate about the concept of community. And for me, it's really like that feeling of belonging and connection. And, you know, so I'm sure just like you, Remco, I'm in multiple communities. Obviously, one big community is my family. We got a big family and definitely the center of my life. Another community is actually, I'd say Twitter. Interestingly enough, like I do feel like that feeling of being connection when you're watching something together, like yesterday in America, there was some big American football games and just like that feeling like you're not alone and you're with other people. So I'll shout out the ultimate community manager, Jack Dorsey, who I do not know, but he does a pretty good job. And then third, community is the customer success community that we've been a part of for 9 years now. And I do have a shout out there. The person that some of you might know, and if you don't know the name, definitely Google him, Dan Steinman, who was our first chief customer officer at Gainsight, still works with us part-time, wrote with me the first book on customer success, but really helped bring together with me the early CS community. And as you know, Remco, community isn't something that you start out with millions of people. You start with really small gatherings. I remember we would have these before Pulse, we'd have these like events in our office with 10 CS people there, right? And you'd go to the grocery store and get like the cheese tray with like the carrots, the celery,
charcuterie board.
Right. That was it. Before we had like musicians and like Vanilla Ice and rap videos. That was how community started. Dan Steinman is the heart and soul of that. So shout out to Dan Steinman.
Awesome. You guys have come a long way then, from like supermarket cheese to
totally
to all of those celebrities. That's quite a journey.
It's quite a journey. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So before I go on to that, maybe for myself, so quick shout out. I want to send over to like Kenneth, Yuri, and Julian, who've been going crazy on the Insighted community for years now, and have been basically driving everything that grows there. So that is super cool. The Inspired community, if you don't know it, go to it. And also Anirban of the Gainsight community used to be a customer. So I used to give him shout outs as a customer. Now he's actually a colleague and he's killing it on the Gainsight community. So that's pretty cool. And then a shout out to all of our customers, obviously all community managers and community builders. So you guys are doing amazing work. It looks awesome. It runs awesome. And we couldn't have done it without you guys. So well done. And then maybe for me personally, so I actually made the distinction between on and offline. I usually do that when people ask me about this. I don't know. So online is easy. I'm super addicted to the customer success community on LinkedIn.
Nice.
This is where I spend all my time. This is also where I get all of the complaints from my friends and people that actually know me in real life, that they no longer see anything else in their LinkedIn feed.
Yeah, so, I know. I'm the same problem for sure.
I also don't know how to answer that or change that. I mean, maybe they should just unfollow me or something. Please don't. But I don't. It's the only solution. I learn new things there every day. So I think that is super cool. And then maybe in the more traditional forum sense, which I know also is quite kind of a thing in our audience, I've been part of this really geeky community called Tweakers in the Netherlands. So people from the Netherlands will probably recognize, but this is like community of super techie, geeky people that like build their own PCs or other things and can do a lot more even on the tech stuff than I can, but I just like to read there. So I've been there since 2005. I was checking today. So it's pretty long.
Very cool. That's awesome.
So definitely community forum kind of thing, long-standing. And then offline, I think, and this is what I like about community, it extends to everything. So I would even call like my football team community, right? Because it's something
Yeah.
where you feel like you belong. Although they don't always agree, you have a set position which you feel you're best at, and everyone sort of or sometimes agrees at least. So that's pretty cool. And I also had my family, because my son keeps calling the triangle of me, my daughter, and him like a team, which I think is his word for community, you know? So there you go.
That's so sweet. I love
Awesome.
that.
Yeah. So community is everywhere. Also, everyone else, feel free to also answer this question for yourself in the chat. I have a cool idea to do with that. If you don't want to share, also fine, but definitely don't feel blocked by anything like that. What's your community, or the thing that you're enthusiastic about in community? So, Nick, to get on with the conversation, you purchased Insighted, as everyone saw. So was it always your intention to get into the world of community? And also, what does this combination of customer success and community mean to you?
Well, I wouldn't say specifically it was always their intention to get into community, but I would say more broadly that customer success isn't just a department, right? Most of your companies have CSMs, but we all know if you just think of the phrase customer success, like making a customer successful takes lots and lots of different things, from like them using the product well to CSMs reaching out to them, onboarding them, training them. And what we found, honestly, through our own experience, was a big part of customer success was your customers hearing from each other. And I actually think that in many cases, that's more powerful than hearing from the vendor, right? Like it's cool when a CSM reaches out to a customer and says, here's some best practices on the product. It's even cooler when a customer reaches out to another customer and says, this is how I use this given product, right? And so we saw that in our customers. They all said, hey, we use online community to drive adoption and success for our customers. And we saw it at Gainsight because we had our own online community, the Game Changer community powered by Insighted. And so we saw that community was really a force multiplier for customer success. And it fit into our bigger vision of making customer success a company-wide priority. It also fit in, we'll talk more about it, into just scaling customer success, because you can only do so much with the CSMs in your company.
Agreed. Cool. So what I liked, and also what I still like about Gainsight, is that I think that you guys have embraced this sort of community narrative always. I know that I joined my first Pulse, I think it's 4 years now or 3 years now or something like that. And it was Pulse Europe. I've actually never been to Pulse in the US.
We're going to fix that. We'll fix that.
Unpopular fact. But so I really felt that sense of community at Pulse Europe, because there were a lot of people there, but it was still sort of felt small enough that you could engage with everyone, and was nicely situated. Everyone saw each other on every like corner and stand, and you literally caught up with everyone, which is super cool. So I've always felt like Gainsight was a community-led business. But would you agree? Is that how you would define it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the famous story from or at least famous in our company's history from the early days of the company was we were, it's 2013. We were about to launch Gainsight like as a company, April 2013. And we said, hey, wouldn't it be great to do an event to bring people together? And initially you said, well, should we do a customer event? And I said, well, that would just be depressing because we had like 6 customers, and they weren't really even using the product. So we said, we need to make this a community event. And actually, like in all truth, like what we were seeing was people in CS were all learning this thing on their own. And then when they got together, even if it was just over grocery store, vegetables and cheese, they felt this incredible sense like there's other people like me in the world, right? That's a big feeling you have when you're in a community. Oh my gosh, there's other people like me. Other people dealing with how to explain their job to the sales team, or how to justify it to finance, or how to work with product. And that was the heart of the beginning of the Pulse community. And today, like literally, even if we do an event like last week, people say, there are other people like me. It's amazing, And so that concept of community was basically how we got started as a company.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I think, I don't know, you showed me some old photos or something.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't a presentation, I don't know, but that was really cool to see. So starting out small, but already with the very recognizable Pulse kind of logo. Super cool. Hey, and if someone would ask you what the value of the current Gainsight community has been to the company, so not like Pulse and the events, but you guys also bought Insighted at some point and built an online community.
Yeah.
So how's that been going? How is that valuable to the company?
Yes, super valuable, and in a very specific way where we've said, okay, within our overall community in the more loose sense, there was a specific sub community of people actually managing Gainsight. So again, our bigger community wasn't about Gainsight, the product. It was about customer success, whether you use Gainsight or not, whether you were an executive or individual contributor, Pulse is for you. But then within that subset were people actually using Gainsight. And actually, it's funny because people come to the Pulse event and some of them, the Gainsight customers, will be like, how come we don't get to talk about Gainsight at all? Right? We're not talking about and they're like, I want to actually talk about Gainsight. And I was like, oh yeah, you're not allowed to talk about our product. Eventually we changed that a little bit. But we said, okay, we need a place where people can talk about our product, give us feedback, which is so important, give our employees that intimacy with customers, even if they're not seeing them face to face, like our engineering team, being able to have them hear directly from customers and interact with them. And so actually, as you know, Remco, our community, which is powered by Insighted, was championed by our product team. So sometimes communities are championed by marketing teams, sometimes by support, increasingly by customer success. But the origin of our community came out of our product team. They said, hey, we want to get real customer input and have it be the voice of the customer directly. So we started what eventually we called the Game Changer community, which tended to be the people that were the ones really managing Gainsight. Some people call them the Gainsight administrator, right? And so there's, thousands of people on this community now, sharing best practices with each other, getting connected socially to each other, and then sharing feedback with our product team. And as you know, Remco, we've shipped thousands of enhancements sourced directly from the community. It's super cool. Actually, every time one of our product managers presents their roadmap to me, we do one of those reviews every week with a different team. They always present the things they're shipping, which of those were sourced from community.
Yeah. I like what Asha is saying. Community is the essence of product-led growth.
That's a great.
I really like that because this is a narrative that is building a lot more now, I think. Totally. And I think maybe when Gainsight started this from the product team, this wasn't necessarily meant to be what everyone now thinks. So community is like an amplifier of product-led growth or something like that. All of those narratives that you can now read on LinkedIn and in really cool blog articles. I have a few. I should link them at some point.
Yeah.
But that sort of is what happened in some way or form. And I kind of like, because I don't know if this also happened within Gainsight, but I kind of like that it can also grow from there. So while we at Insighted, for example, usually still see that it's either a community team or a customer success team that is the owner and the starting sort of, or the driving force behind the community project, it's also very cool that it can just originate from the product team and basically their need and wish to communicate with customers a lot more. And then grow to something else.
Yeah, it's interesting because Remco, I think one mega trend in business is that the walls are kind of coming down between companies and their customers. That's where community comes in, but also within companies, right? So things used to be, oh, this is a support thing, or this is a product thing, or a marketing thing. And I think what's happening is things like community are now saying, no, that's actually it's like everything in the company is touched by community. It helps product, it helps marketing. Sure, somebody has to start, somebody has to raise their hand and say, I'm going to go launch this. But eventually something like community becomes useful for all departments within a company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also what Asha is following up, but I agree. Especially product enhancements are the low-hanging fruit there. I think what's usually difficult is that a product team will come in, have a very strong vision about where they need to go, and then sometimes they're also worried that customers will not be bought into that vision, or at least have something that is completely opposite. But yeah, I don't know. I've never seen that happen. I think that's a scary myth.
I think it's you have to hear the input, even if it's not, I agree with product people would say you shouldn't just do community enhancement requests, right? You got to have a vision of your own too, but it's having that balance and then always listening, right? So one of the things with community, from my perspective for product, is you're not committing to do every single thing everybody asks, right? You definitely not, that wouldn't make any sense, but you want to listen to people. And also what I love is listen to people and then have the top ideas be amplified through voting, and upvoting, and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. And and this is maybe we should get to the conversation later.
Yeah.
I will get us back to the conversation at some point. But what I also always think is amazing about this is that community can start from literally any department within a business that just has a desire to spend more time with their customers or their users and actually understand them and talk to them and rope them into the conversation. But also the number one question that we always get that is prohibiting people from actually starting one is who should own it. It's we need to find an owner. And while it could literally be anyone, there's no, yeah, I mean, there's probably ways that are easier than the other, but there's no sort of department that couldn't do this well, I would say.
Totally.
That always is the blocking factor. So yeah, why do you think that happens?
I mean, I think that it's like anything in business where you do need somebody to raise their hand and say, okay, I'm going to go do something. Things don't happen through group consensus in companies, right? I think they can expand through group consensus, but initially somebody needs to raise their hand. And to me, that it comes down to like, you start out with a specific business problem. So for example, Gainsight, the problem was we wanted more customer intimacy for our team in engineering. And also we wanted a little more like sorting of ideas so that we could figure out what really matters, right? And so therefore it started in product, but it easily could have started in marketing or CS or whatever, but it just started in product, just happened to do it. To me, it's like, how do you enable that one person to raise their hand and go for it, but then eventually bring everyone else in, right? So then what actually happened for us is our marketing team then embraced community and actually said, let's come up with a brand for it. Let's give out like swag. We call the Game Changers now. It wasn't called Game Changers before. When it was the product team just driving on their own, it was called the Gainsight community. That's it. There was no creativity to the name, right? But now marketing got involved. Now we're trying to get CS more involved, right? So to me, it's like somebody does have to raise their hand. I think good companies embrace entrepreneurialism so that allows somebody to raise their hand and go do it. Don't have them have to go get approval from every other group. Just go do it.
Yeah. So is it easy to get CS involved now?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because 100% our CS team is involved and actually, frankly, has always sent people to our community because they know that administrators of Gainsight that are in the community are more likely to have higher NPS, to have higher retention rates, to better use the product, right? So it's like a no-brainer for CSM to do it. Now, what I think an interesting question is, how do you over time create communities such that different roles can be in your community? Because in our company, as with any software company, you have the person managing the product day to day, typically a little more technical kind of person, right? Then you might have an executive sponsor. So in our case, might be a chief customer officer. You might have other roles, like in our case, sales or others. And so one of the things we wrestle with, and I think you all are going to help us with this, is how do you create communities for multiple stakeholders? How do you have communities out there that appeal to multiple needs? Throwing a bunch of executives into your admin community is probably not a good idea, right?
No.
They're not going to be interested in like the latest configuration changes in Gainsight, right? But they do want to have discussions about other things. So that, to me, that's the next frontier for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that. I especially like the sense of the customer success team getting more and more involved.
Totally.
I think if you would look at our like sales pipeline a year ago, I think the majority of the communities would either be marketing led or community led by a community team. This is also what people would usually start. Then they would start a community team to actually then be a part of the purchase and then set up the project. But I think now it's about 50-50 between like the combination of marketing and community and then customer success. So maybe even customer success is the biggest if it's only one department.
Yeah, I really like that. And I see what Jerome put into the chat. Success is the ideal owner long term because like at the end of the day, the nice thing about customer success is you have a North Star. The North Star is the customer is successful, which means they're adopting your product, they're getting value, they're getting outcomes, et cetera. And so I think building a community with success as the first goal to me is actually really cool. Other things then can come out of it. Product enhancement can come out of it. Marketing advocacy can come out of it. Support ticket deflection can come out of it. But like the core goal is success. To me, that's the most authentic definition of community.
Agreed. Yeah. But will a customer success manager then also become the de facto community manager?
Well, that's
always the interesting point.
Just like every other team specializes over time. So, when companies start in customer success, let's say you're in a startup, you might have, 5 people, CSMs, and they do everything. They're training people, they're helping in sales, they're doing renewals, but eventually they specialize. As you know, Remco companies will create an onboarding team or a professional services team. They'll create a training team. They'll create a CSM team with a more specific focus. They might create a renewals team or an account management team. And so to me, every single CS team over time will have to create a community sub-team. And that community sub-team is going to be staffed with great people like the folks on this call who are experts at community, because that's a specialist craft in itself. But they're not going to be off on an island in some department where community is just like a little appendage to what they do. They're going to be in a team with customer success where community is like the superpower that's like accelerating everything else happening in the team. So I don't think it's like, oh, the CSM should just do the community on their own with no help. But at the same time, I don't think community should be an island. It should be tied very much into the customer success lifecycle.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. I think this is also, I think community management, if you would ask people like, is it a difficult job? People would say yes.
Yeah.
Because I think our opinion of a community manager's job is that it's a crazy, crazy amount of work. And I think that's true. So, and I think it's especially true if it's the sole responsibility of just the community manager to keep the community going, right? Because that's what happens at a lot of companies. They launch a community, they put a community manager on top of it, they give him or her a bunch of goals,
right?
And then as soon as those goals don't, they aren't being hit or something like that, they only look at the community manager and are like, this should work. I mean, this is community, we've read about it, this should work, our customers want it, we want it, why is it not working? And I think the majority of the reason why is because not everyone's bought in, right? Not everyone's helping. And I also think that because of a customer success, even if a customer success manager doesn't become your community manager, there's stuff that they can do. And I think this also is with, or sort of airs on what the questions of Kate and Anders are in the chat. It's like, how do education teams fit in? How do product teams fit in? How do customer success teams fit in? Eventually marketing teams maybe, or something like that. Everyone, I think, will play a role.
Yeah, and if you take customer success as an example, like I think you're so spot on. You can't throw your community manager in to say just do it on your own. A community manager can set up the infrastructure, the technology, like inside it can drive your best practices and all that. What do you need from the CSM? Two things top of mind for me. Number one, CS needs to get people to the community, right? So that should be a core talk track in your CS process. Our best customers are engaged in the community. And every time they're talking to customers, hey, have you thought about the community? And our CS team does a great job of this, bringing it up. Number two, the CS team has a lot of knowledge, right? And so they can be active participants in the community, sharing the best practices they've heard from their clients, right? And so, and very similarly, education teams, should totally be driving people to the community, drive better education, but also potentially putting in some of the micro content from education into the community to pull people back into formal classes. Marketing should be marketing to the community as part of the customer journey and on the website and all that stuff, but also look at the community as a source of intelligence about what we should be marketing in the future. So I kind of think every team has a role to play in community.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also not a risk for the community manager, because I think this will allow the community manager to be more strategic.
That's right.
Eventually. Less in the weeds, don't have to do everything. But as soon as education teams jump in, they handle the educational part, maybe even sometimes onboarding part if it's video related, that kind of stuff. And then you got customer success managers jumping in and they're handling a part of the community, etc. It really frees up the community manager to be more strategic about it all and think, okay, how can we take this to the next level? And what result haven't we seen yet?
Totally agree.
Which I think would be a crazy opportunity for them, actually. I also like what Asha's doing. I think we're just going to continue the conversation like this, by the way. We're just jumping.
That's great.
I love it. So executive sponsorship, I think another one that is quite a difficult thing in community world usually. So can you describe, were you involved at all when you initially bought a community platform or set out to build an official program?
Yeah, so I was pretty involved in the theory of it. I was a huge fan that we should do it. And for me, it was actually just giving more intimacy for our employees, especially engineers and product managers, to customers. So that was for me but then the person, I think the people that really championship, so Carl Rumelhart, our chief product officer, and then his team basically got really excited about. Carl's always been passionate about the community and fun. I don't know if you know this, Remco. Carl actually worked in community software eons ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he actually knows firsthand that it matters. So I think he was just passionate for that perspective, right?
Awesome.
So Carl got passionate about it. Other people did as well. Carl and his team become kind of the day-to-day exec sponsors. But yeah, it took a few different people. But then, as you pointed out, it also took community managers in Gainsight to then say, hey, I want to go do this. And it became a career opportunity for them as well.
Yeah, true. Awesome. I did not know that about Carl.
There you go. You can talk to him about it. Yeah.
I think I need a one-on-one with Carl. So
absolutely.
I'm putting that on the list. Super cool. I also like that Jerome's like community workshops, channel ownership, specialization, everyone can share. Fully agree. but just only by everyone pitching in, indeed, is how the knowledge within your company is evolving. Everyone, including the customer, there definitely.
Totally.
So I want to pivot a little bit towards like customer success and community, and also how that will impact or change the community landscape, because we see more and more customer success teams actually being the sole owner, buyer, purchaser, or maybe even sometimes community manager. So how will that basically affect what's happening with communities now? How will it drag them away from, I don't know, support and marketing as it was originally sort of seen, or the perception? And also, how does this relate to digital customer success?
Yeah. So I think one thing that's happened in general, even before I get into community, is that customer success and the SaaS business model has given a business case for customer experience, right? So let's just rewind time. In every company in history has always said, oh, our customer experience matters a lot. Like, when did that anyone say the opposite of that? It won't even make any sense.
We're customer centric.
We're customer centric, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. They put in their values, but there wasn't a business model and a business case that turned that into value for the company, right? And so therefore, sometimes they would do it because they thought it was the right thing. Most companies would just pay lip service to it and wouldn't really do anything. And along came SaaS, where the business model depended on customers getting value, because otherwise they wouldn't renew. And customer success then became the team and initiative whose job it was to make sure customers were renewing and expanding. And so there was now a business case for customer experience, right? So that's that sort of powered this huge investment in general in customer success. Before customer success, what was the business case for community? Well, you would know better than I would, but I'd imagine one of them was, I have too many support cases. I want to have less support cases. So I want people to solve things on their own, right? Support deflection. And another one might have been, I'm going to generate more advocates, right? Those could be two, or more marketing references. And the challenge is, like, the support one is good, but there's a limit, right? You can only save so much money. Like, there's no limit to revenue. There's a limit to cost. And then the marketing one was good, but it was like not as tangible. And it wasn't always the number one priority of marketing teams, who usually were focused more on new business. So now what you have is a customer success team that has a business case inherent in what they do, which is retaining and growing their customers. Right. And now they're like, I will do anything I can to retain and grow my customers. That includes hiring CSMs. That includes digital customer success. That includes training, and it includes community. And so community has now been tied to a first-class priority of every SaaS company. So that's like the biggest thing happening. Now, let's talk about digital. When you talk to a chief customer officer, and which I do every day, and you say, what's your biggest challenge? One of, like, inherently, number one or number two is going to be scaling. It's going to be, I have 50 CSMs, or I have 100 CSMs, or I have 5 CSMs, and I've got like 1,000 customers. I've got 10,000 customers. I've got 100,000 customers. And there's no way you can do customer success just one-to-one, right? And so one-to-many customer success, or digital customer success, or scaled customer success, or tech touch, they're all the same thing. All of those are about, how do I drive retention and expansion of my customer base without purely having one-on-one customer interaction. So how do you do that? Well, when you go through the playbook of digital customer success, some of it is like one-to-many, like having a CSM be able to work with multiple customers, right? Through things like, webinars and Zoom meetings and stuff like that. Some of it is, automated customer journeys, digital communication. Some of it's in product, some of it's training, but some of it is community. It's like the most scalable way to drive customer success is your customers help each other. Right? It's also perhaps the most effective way, because your customers actually want to talk to each other. If you talk to most CSMs and ask them, like, when you're on a call with the customer, what's like one of the things that they often want? All the time, customer says, can I talk to somebody that's gone through this like I am? Right? You can appreciate that, Remco. Like, that's like when you're going through, even if you're a person, like, even if you're going through this in your personal life, right? You're buying an insurance policy, or you're buying a new home for the first time. Like, it's great to talk to other people who've gone through it. Even going to a restaurant, right? That's why we ask friends for restaurant recommendations. And so to me, digital customer success requires community. And community is now part of one of the most important initiatives in any SaaS company.
Yeah, agreed. This is also how we always answer the question of, sometimes you'll have this company looking to build a community, and they'll be wondering whether or not their users will actually engage in a community, or if they, usually the question they ask is, do I have a community? Does it exist within my user base, I guess, or something like that? And I kind of like what you said, because I think it's fundamentally a human thing that your users, customers, whatever name, or I don't know, whatever name you just give them, they will form communities one way or another.
That's right.
It's part of human nature, and maybe even our DNA. I don't know, but they'll look for something. Like I, for example, did when I first started to lead a marketing team, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so let me try and find a community somewhere. And I found this DGMG community by Dave Gerhardt from Drift.
Oh yeah, nice.
And there were a lot of people talking and basically discussing how to build a budget and how to set up like an annual plan, and if you should spend more or less on advertising and those kinds of things. And I was like, yes, all of these topics on my mind. Thank you. I love this. So people will just do that. So even if you're a company, you're like, my users are super technical, or and my users only spend time behind their PCs on Friday because they only have internet by that time or something.
Right.
They will use that time to form communities and figure out if someone else is doing the same thing they are, but in a better way. And I think that is super powerful, and probably that is probably the power of community, I think.
So well said. I love it.
Yeah. So let's quickly discuss what Cliff's saying. So he loves the idea of aligning the value of a one-to-many pooled model approach into your community efforts. I also like the CS pooled model, but maybe you know the pooled model, right?
Yeah. Pooled is
so maybe to describe for everyone else that doesn't know what it is, I could just ask you.
100%, totally. So pooled customer success is a slightly different concept from your model of a named CSM. So in a named CSM, I'm a customer, and there's a CSM. Maybe my CSM is Remco. Maybe that would be amazing if CS got to Remco.
That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty darn cool. And so, that Remco might have 30 clients. He works with each of them. He schedules calls and does reviews and things like that, right? That's your classic CSM model. A pooled model is actually, no, Remco isn't assigned to a set of accounts. There's a large group of accounts, the pool, and Remco and maybe 4 or 5 other people are kind of intervening on accounts on an as needed basis, not getting assigned to them, but maybe saying, hey, I noticed your usage is dropping. Can we do a call to talk about how to optimize your deployment or whatever it is, right? So that's pooled customer success. But what's the biggest pool to take advantage of in pooled customer success? The pool of your customers, right? Rather than just assigning to a pool of CSMs, what if I assign it to a pool of your clients, all excited to help out and to, and that's what's amazing about community, right? Remco is like when you actually throw people in, and when they ask for help, other people help them. That's what's amazing. Human beings actually like want to help each other, right? It's super cool.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I always love the pool model because it basically breathes digital customer success, and also like having your whole sort of scale model sorted first. I think I was originally introduced to the pooled model by Brian from Looker, I think.
Oh yeah.
Once I had a webinar with him, and he blew my mind explaining that his customer success team was according to this pooled model, and basically there were 2 ways to get in touch with the CSM. One, they would have a data set that basically said, oh, someone's not doing well, so they would be proactive. And 2, you would have this really difficult question, and you would be assigned someone from the pool who would then come into a conversation and say, hey, I'm here for 3 months. I'm here to help. And then basically graduate you at the end of the 3 months and go back into the pool. I think it's brilliant because it assumes that there is a digital self-serve community, however you call it, model behind it that basically enables you as a customer to do most things yourself. Which I think is cool. Yes, Nick is wearing a Prince hoodie.
Yes, it is a Prince hoodie. I got it from the Prince Museum in Minneapolis a couple months ago.
I think it's unbelievable that you can notice that. It's purple, but
it's pretty hard to see. I have to be impressed. Yeah, exactly.
I hadn't seen it, but that's very sharp, Jessica. Thank you. So what do you think? Also, and maybe this is a relevant question because you just basically bought a community vendor. So what do you see the relationship of customer success and community do in the next few years?
Yeah, there's so much we're just working on this now, but there's so much we can do together. I think at the team level, right? As we talked about, community should be part of the overall customer success strategy. The chief customer officer often has community underneath them. Community helps scale the CS team. And at a technology level, I think there's so much we can do from, integrating more tightly such that when a customer's in a journey in a system like Gainsight customer success, we automatically know when to bring them into the community based on key moments where they could get value from other community peers. At the same time, as Remco, that data about customer engagement in the community is gold for the CSM to see, right? Yeah. First of all, like just seeing their posts and like what have they asked about, but also like analyzing their behavior. What's the sentiment of their posts? Were they posting and then all of a sudden they stopped posting? Have they never gotten active in the community? Those could influence your health score in your community as well. And then more broadly, I think we at Insighted and Gainsight, we share this vision. The community is just like a subset of this bigger thing, which is how do we create a really tight channel between vendors and customers that's very transparent? We use that term internally, the customer hub, right? That place where as a vendor, I am communicating with my customer in real time, not just through, Zoom calls or, emails or Slack, but like through a shared channel where I'm sharing information with them, maybe the success plan, health scores, all that. They're connecting with customers and you have this really deep connection with your clients. I think there's a big opportunity there for us to innovate together.
Yeah. I especially like the transparency argument of it, because I think usually originally it's the case that the CSM knows more about how you're doing as a customer with a certain type of software than you do. Of course, you're in the weeds with it every day and you use it. You might be using it in the wrong way. A community could help you see that. But I guess normally a customer success manager would be on your QBR and say, look, other customers do this. Maybe you should try to do this as well. And I'm super excited personally for basically opening up the same data set to a CSM and a customer, and basically a customer just being able to see within their version of the customer hub, or whether it's personalized or not, doesn't really matter, that they could be doing something else, or that they have a certain thing that might be, I don't know, they could do something better, use a different feature, or use more, use less.
Yeah, and you can
depends on their use case.
Imagine if the customer gave permission, by the way, to take that data the vendor shared with them about their usage, and maybe even share some of it selectively with other community members. So say, hey, these are the features I'm using. Which ones are you using? And maybe connect with other customers that are using those features specifically. And I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And maybe also good to do. So you quickly touched upon data. And I think engagement data, et cetera, is super cool and it's very useful for the CSM. But to err on the topic of executive sponsorship again, what is some of the data that from a community that, for example, you would be interested in as the CEO of a company? What do you look at? Because I don't think that you look at like the sort of engagement data stuff. Have you actually seen a use case, for example, where you've been able to tie a community initiative to, I don't know, retention or churn or NRR or something?
I think you're the spirit of what you're talking about, right? So you would want to know, I think there's probably 3 categories of things you want to know, right? So one is like for your top customers, you want to know like their engagement in your community and maybe, issues. And because, most companies with your biggest customers, even the CEO is pretty hands-on. For me, I'm trying to be hands-on with every customer, but for most companies, it might be your top 20 or 30, right? So that's like one thing. Second thing is I think you're going to want to know all this incredible feedback that's coming in the community. That's where natural language processing, like at Gainsight, we have this technology called Horizon Artificial Intelligence. And we already were using it on our customer survey data and note data, and now applying that to community data to understand what are the topics people are asking about, what are the issues they're having, what product feedback do they have. There's a lot of opportunity. But then to your point, Remco, how do we then like assess everything happening in the customer journey, right? Everything from community involvement to CSM doing a meeting to webinars to emails to the product usage, and figure out what's correlated with retention and expansion. So we announced a feature in last year that's coming out this year called Impact Analyzer. It uses artificial intelligence to look at all the different things happening in customer journey and determine which of those are most likely correlated with clients that retain and grow, right? And so how awesome would it be if I could actually then build that business case to say customers that are in community are 2 times more likely to renew a contract, or have 10 points higher NPS than those that aren't, things like that.
Yeah, or upsell.
Or upsell expansion, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we once did this case with, I say we did it, but we actually didn't do anything. It was Mixpanel by themselves.
Yeah.
But they did this case where they studied the effects of people actually upgrading to the paid plan. So they have a free plan, paid plan, people upgrading to the paid plan. And then they made the distinction between people that were active on the community and people that weren't.
Yeah.
And they actually saw that the conversion rate on people active on the community was a lot higher, because they were basically being told to upgrade by engaging with their peers and actually listening, hearing, seeing stories of their peers that it was working for them, and they figured out a way to use, I don't know, said paid feature A. I'm not really sure what they are called. And And I thought that was super cool.
I love that.
Also very interesting because we hardly see any of those cases in community management use case land, I guess. Even I, in my marketing materials, don't have a lot of them or used a lot of them. We have a lot of them, but we actually don't use them. Could be smart. Question from Andrea that we can cover in between. So how do you drive the behavior to keep community as a top of mind resource for customers versus having them default to support or customer success?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's an opportunity here. I mean, part of it is obviously incorporating into the core CS talk track. There are probably certain situations where a community, like for example, product feedback, when you get product feedback, hey, have you thought about posting in the community? Sending them links to community articles as in response to their questions so that they are, kind of click into it and maybe start clicking around, nurturing them relevant community posts based on questions that they've had, things like that. One thing we think that's an opportunity is to build it into the playbooks for CS. So in Gainsight CS, our product, there's a concept of a CS playbook. And, one of the things we often recommend is one of those steps in the playbook should be asking the customer if they've checked out community or sending them a community link or things like that. I think as we build out more digital journeys and digital customer success, there's a real opportunity to have part of the digital journey be encouraging the customer to go to the community. Could be nurturing them a relevant community post, asking them to join the community, telling them about friends of theirs that are on the community.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot we need to work out as a kind of a CS and community collective team, but people are doing it. There's a good start for sure.
Yeah, I think also I fully agree. The only thing I would add to that as well is maybe that I think this is also why we're mentioning Customer Hub internally now. Right. And also I think from Insider's perspective, we at least have been very forward about this vision of trying to be the central location of anything customer success communication related, at least. And I think that's also a big factor in making sure that people stay engaged with the community, is also making sure that they actually land on the community. Yes. So not to have like a separate LMS,
totally
separate knowledge base,
one portal,
separate community, separate event platform, separate everything, because then it gets very confusing, right? Then you have a digital journey with 5 passwords and 5 different steps.
Totally.
But if you actually use it to centralize all of your customer and customer success communication and all of those things, I think people will have to sort of use it and will stay top of mind because that's all they see. They're just there and they get sent there.
So well said. Love it.
Yeah. Let me see. So I'm trying to process the question from Justine. So let me see. As Insider gets deeper integrated in the data. Okay, so how are you thinking about your strategy so it will be relevant for communities that are led by other departments in collaboration with CS team, of course? And then I asked for clarification, and that was as Insider gets deeper integrated into Gainsight.
Yeah, I think I understand the question there. Thanks, Justine. I do think that if you think about the other groups that kind of launch community, whether it's marketing or support or support's often part of customer success, so that's probably more straightforward, but marketing and being a good example. I think that community is a great way to build bridges for customer success. And I actually, we in general have said customer success needs to get closer to marketing anyways, right? Like customer success and marketing need to work together on messages to existing customers. Digital customer success totally ties to marketing. So this is just another way for the conduit between the two to come together. In particular, I think marketing is a big opportunity. And we've been talking about doing a lot of thought leadership in the next year and a half on how marketing teams should be involved in customer success.
Yeah, I agree. I also just got the question as you were.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
thanks, Justine. Sorry, I think it was just me being super slow. Your question was very good. Thank you.
Slow.
Okay, quick pivot to something completely different. Will Gainsight ever have a chief community officer?
Oh, look at that. Well, as far as I can tell, eventually every title in all companies will be chief something. So there will be chief. So that seems to be the limit of over time. I can imagine it. It's funny. Years ago, I even thought about doing it because community is such a big part of like who we are. So it's not something that we're planning near term, but I can imagine that. I do think that there's an element of community that is kind of like it is sacrosanct. It's like you have to do community in a way that like it's going to help the whole business. But if you just do it totally tactically tied to one business goal, you kind of kill the community. Like that's why I've been such a fierce defender of our Pulse community in general, independent of the community technology, just like the concept. I'm like, hey, we're going to keep doing Pulse. It's not about a sales pitch for Gainsight. It's not about our customers. It's about the community. And so I think you do need somebody to really be passionate about that. Like in Gainsight's case, in some ways, it's me. Because I'm the one probably over the history of the company who is the most passionate about like, we're going to do community, whether or not it has an ROI. Because I know it has an ROI. I don't care whether it's measured or not. I just like, I know the whole company is built on it, right? But I think that in some cases, you may need that person in the management team to advocate for the needs of the community. So I like the idea. It's not something we thought about near term, but I like the idea.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, I think it's an interesting topic because it's been coming up lately. I've actually been seeing a lot of, and I've actually also seen a few chief community officers.
Me too. I've seen a few as well.
Yeah, and I think what is interesting about this role, it's not necessarily the title, because I think this could also be done by a chief customer officer or anything else. Right. But I think it's what is nice about this is that you actually sort of give someone a seat at the table to bring all of these community insights directly into the executive conversation, I guess. And I think that maybe should be happening already, whether it's the CPO or the CCO or someone else doing it. But maybe in some cases, it makes more sense to give someone a title like this to actually sort of also let the executive team know or something that this is an important part and they should be focusing on it. I think this was it was also a conversation, I think, during the last CMX event where Holly Firestone from Fanafi, she was on stage with her CEO, and she was also part of the exec team, and her CEO was also like, yeah, I did this to show that she's not only bringing all of these community insights, etc., to the table, but also to show the other execs at the table that they should be focusing on this as well, so that it was like a back and forth between certain types of things. I thought it was a super cool idea.
Super cool.
Yeah. So I very briefly, this is like a commercial break, got a ping from Rhea, who always helps me out with these webinars, that I should mention the community manager kit once more, the self-care kit. So guys, make sure to nominate your community manager. You can do it now. You can also do it afterwards, but at least nominate the person that you think is killing it in the community management world, so that we can make them happy with what I have seen is very cool. And now I have to say the whole line again: Ultimate Community Manager Self-Care Kit. There you go. Yeah, super cool. So maybe you're welcome, Justine, by the way. Maybe a few more smaller things. So basically, what's the next thing that we as Insight should now be doing now that we're here?
I think you have to make another rap video, as far as I can tell, but you've done one already. So yeah, we need Remco in it. So, well, actually, I think the biggest, as you know, like the biggest thing whenever you do an acquisition is make sure that the teams are excited internally, because nothing else can happen without that. But the Insight team's done an amazing job of that. We have a lot more to do, but just getting the teams connected together internally. But then I think from there, getting this story out about community to the broader masses now, because I think there's this incredible group of community leaders who are represented here, right? So I see, dozens of people on this call. How do we get that message out to the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in customer success? To me, that is the big opportunity for us, because that helps everyone win. It helps the customer success community scale through, this digital technology, helps all of you, I think, get more kind of recognition for what you're doing and resources and all that. So to me, it's like, let's get this message out there.
Yeah, agreed. I couldn't agree more. Super cool. Yeah, to be honest, I think that was it.
That's great.
Is there anyone else in the chat that wants to ask like a really quick question to Nick? Can be anything. I mean, this is the community moment. And if not, then we're just really on time.
There you go. We always have more meetings. That's one thing's for sure. So
I know. You scared me a little in the beginning. I was like, oof, is Nick going to be on time?
There you go. So thank you so much for everyone here. Seriously, huge kudos to and everyone working so hard in your communities. I'm glad you're taking this day, Remco, to appreciate everyone, and I appreciate you including me.
Yeah, awesome. I was also super psyched to do this with you. I know you're a huge community enthusiast, so just being part of Community Manager Appreciation Day, I think makes a lot of sense. It's also fun to now get to share this with 1,000 other people at Gainsight, or more than 1,000 now, I think, which I saw being celebrated as a huge milestone. So that's super cool. Yeah, they all responded well to this message, so it's very cool. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Again, I'll make sure to share the webinar. It's been recorded. I'll send it over to you guys. Yeah, and hope to see you at the next webinar soon. Nick, thank you for being here.
Awesome.
Super awesome.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.